A man is sitting on a park bench eating his lunch, when suddenly a duckling walks by and the duckling is completely covered in shit. The man feels bad for the little duckling, picks it up, wipes it clean with a tissue and lets it walk again. A second duckling walks by again, covered in shit. The man feels bad and again takes a tissue and wipes this duckling clean and lets it walk again. Now, a third duckling walks by, again covered in shit. The man starts to wonder where the hell all these ducklings are coming from, but he takes another tissue, wipes it clean, and lets it continue walking. After a minute or so, the man hears a deep voice behind him saying, "Hey, do you have a tissue for me too? I ran out of ducklings." An Australian, an Irishman, and a Scouser are in a bar. They're staring at another man sitting on his own at a table in the corner. He's so familiar, and not recognizing him is driving them mad. They stare and stare, until suddenly the Irishman twigs. "My God, it's Jesus!" Sure enough, it is Jesus, nursing a pint. Thrilled, they send him over a pint of Guinness, a pint of Foster's, and a pint of bitter. Jesus accepts the drinks, smiles over at the three men, and drinks the pints slowly, one after another. After he's finished the drinks, Jesus approaches the trio. He reaches for the hand of the Irishman and shakes it, thanking him for the Guinness. When he lets go, the Irishman gives a cry of amazement. "My God, the arthritis I've had for 30 years is gone. It's a miracle." Jesus then shakes the Aussie's hand, thanking him for the lager. As he lets go, the man's eyes widen in shock. "Struth, mate, the bad back I've had all my life is completely gone. It's a miracle." Jesus then approaches the Scouser, who says, "Back off, mate. I'm on disability benefits." A little boy gets on the public bus and sits right behind the bus driver. The boy keeps repeatedly saying, "If my mom was a cow and my dad was a bull, I'd be a little calf. If my mom was a hen and my dad was a chicken, I'd be a little chick. If my mom was a deer and my dad was a buck, I'd be a little deer. If my mom was a duck and my dad was a goose, I'd be a little duckling." The annoyed bus driver stops the bus and turns to the boy saying, "What if your mom was a drunk and your dad was a bum?" The boy responds, "Then I'd be a bus driver." Patty and Mick are blind drunk and going home from a night out and realize that they don't have enough money for a taxi, so they decide to go to the bus depot and steal a bus. Mick breaks into the depot as Patty stands as a lookout. After a while, Patty decides to see what is keeping Mick, so he looks through the gate where he sees Mick running from bus to bus looking worried. "What the hell are you doing?" hissed Patty. Mick replies, "I can't find a number 6 bus anywhere, Patty." Holding his hands to his head in disbelief, Patty barks, "You idiot, Mick. Steal a number 8 and we'll get off at the roundabout and walk the rest of the fucking way." An Australian rugby fan, a South African rugby fan, and a New Zealand rugby fan are all in Saudi Arabia, sharing a smuggled crate of booze, when Saudi police rush in and arrest them. The mere possession of alcohol is a severe offense in Saudi Arabia, so for consuming the booze, they are all sentenced to death. However, after many months and with the help of good lawyers, they are able to successfully appeal their sentences down to life imprisonment. By a stroke of luck, it was a Saudi national holiday the day their trial finished, and the benevolent sheikh decided they could be released after receiving just 20 lashes. As they were preparing for their punishment, the sheikh announced, "It's my first wife's birthday today, and she has asked me to allow each of you one wish before your whipping." The South African was first. He thought for a while, then said, "Please tie a pillow to my back." This was done, but the pillow lasted only 10 lashes before the whip went through. When the punishment was done, the South African had to be carried away bleeding and crying with pain. The Australian was next up. After watching the South African's horror, he said smugly, "Please fix 2 pillows to my back." But even 2 pillows could take only 15 lashes before the whip went through, and the Australian was soon led away whimpering loudly, as they do. The New Zealander was the last one up, but before he could say anything, the sheikh turned to him and said, "You are from a most beautiful part of the world, and your culture is one of the finest. For this, you may have 2 wishes." "Thank you, your most royal and merciful highness," the Kiwi replied. "In recognition of your kindness, my first wish is that you give me not 20 lashes, but 100 lashes." "Not only are you an honorable, handsome, and powerful man, you are also very brave," the sheikh said with an admiring look on his face. "If 100 lashes is what you desire, then so be it. And your second wish?" "Tie the Australian to my back." A female secretary was helping her new boss set up his computer and asked him what word he would like to use as a password to log in with. Wanting to embarrass his new secretary a bit and let her know where they stood, he smugly told her to enter tool. Without blinking or saying a word, she entered the password. She then almost died laughing at the computer's response. Password rejected. Not long enough. 2 statues were standing in the park, one of a naked man and one of a naked woman. They had been facing each other across a pathway for 100 years. One day, an angel comes down from the sky and, with a single gesture, brings the 2 to life. The angel tells them, "As a reward for being so patient through 100 blazing summers and dismal winters, you have been given life for 30 minutes to do what you've wished to do the most." He looks at her. She looks at him. They go running behind the shrubbery. The angel waits patiently as the bushes rustle and giggling ensues. After 15 minutes, the 2 return, out of breath and laughing. The angel looks at his watch. You have 15 minutes left. Would you care to do it again?" He asks her, "Shall we?" She eagerly replies, "Oh, yes, let's. But we should change positions. This time, I'll hold the pigeon down, and you shit on its head." A man brings his best buddy home for dinner unannounced at 6:30 p.m. after work. His wife screams at him while his friend sits and listens in. "My hair and makeup are not done, the house is a mess, the dishes are not done. I am still in my pajamas and I can't be bothered with cooking tonight. Why the heck did you bring him home?" Calmly, the husband replies, "Because he's thinking of getting married and I promised him a demo." Police were investigating the mysterious death of a prominent businessman who had jumped from a window of his 9th-story office. Nancy, his voluptuous private secretary, could offer no explanation for the action but said that her boss had been acting peculiarly ever since she started working for him, a month ago. "After my very first week on the job," Nancy said, "I received a raise. At the end of the second week, he called me into his private office, gave me a lovely black nightgown and 5 pairs of nylon stockings and said, 'These are for a beautiful, efficient secretary.' At the end of the third week, he gave me a fabulous mink stole. Then this afternoon, he called me into his private office again, presented me with this fabulous diamond bracelet and asked me if I could consider making love to him. I told him that I would, and because he had been so nice to me, he could have it for just $500, although I was charging all the other guys in the office $1,000. That's when he jumped out the window. An old snake goes to see his doctor and says, "I need something for my eyes. I can't see very well these days." The doctor fixes him up with a pair of glasses and tells him to return in 2 weeks. The snake comes back in 2 weeks and tells the doctor that he's very depressed. "What's the problem?" asks the doctor. "Didn't the glasses help you?" "The glasses are fine, Doc," the snake answers dejectedly. "Thing is, I just discovered I've been living with a garden hose the past 2 years. A lady was showing her dog at all of the local shows, but despite having a tremendous dog, she never placed higher than 3rd. She cornered one of the judges after one show and asked why her dog never won. "Well, the problem is that your dog has too much hair between its toes, and we have to deduct points because of that. You have a great dog, but it's not winning because of the hair between its toes." Upset, the lady says, "I trim it as close as possible. What can I do?" "Well," the judge said, "go to the pharmacy and get some liquid hair remover and put it between your dog's toes. You'll be able to pull the hair right out and you'll win best in show, I guarantee it." So the lady rushed to the pharmacy to find the liquid hair remover. She went up and down every aisle but couldn't find it. The pharmacist saw her searching and asked if he could help. "I'm looking for liquid hair remover and I can't find it." The pharmacist said, "It's on aisle 10, I'll show you." He walked her over and picked up the bottle. As he handed it to her, he said, "Now, after you use this, you can't wear pantyhose for a couple of days because the chemicals will bond the nylon to your skin." The lady said, "Oh, it's not for my legs, it's for my schnauzer." And the pharmacist said, "Well, in that case, don't ride a bicycle for at least a week." A career-driven woman, temporarily working in Paris, receives a letter from her boyfriend, who lives in another country. The letter reads as follows: "Dear Claudia, I can no longer continue our relationship. The distance between us is too great. I must admit that I have been unfaithful to you 10 times since you left, and I think neither you nor I deserve this. I'm sorry. Please return the photos I sent you. With affection, Roberto." The woman, deeply hurt, asked all her colleagues at work to give her photos of their boyfriends, friends, uncles, cousins, brothers, etc. Along with Roberto's photo, she included all those given to her by her friends. There were 57 photos in the envelope and a note that said, "Roberto, forgive me, I can't remember who the you are. Find your photo in the package and return the rest to me." Once upon a time, there was a snake named Nate who lived in the woods. There was a road that wound through the woods. Nate liked to lie because it caught the sun and warmed his bones. Very near this road in these woods, there was a tree, a special tree. It was special because it was on the side of the tree, and if the lever were pushed, then the world would end. One day, Granny was driving through the woods in her jalopy. Granny was a tender-hearted soul who would never hurt a fly. As usual, Nate was lying on the road, sunning himself. As Granny came along, she didn't see Nate at first. Then, when she did see him, it was almost too late. She swerved to avoid hitting him. When she swerved, she lost control of her jalopy and she crashed into a tree, the special tree with the lever, and the lever got pushed, and the world ended. Moral to the story: better Nate than never. A girl tells her mother after school, "Mom, I got a gold star today for reciting the whole alphabet. The rest of my class only knows 3 or 4 letters." "Well done, darling," the girl's mother replies. "That's because you're blonde." After returning from school the next day, the girl tells her mother, "I am the smartest student in my maths class. I can count up to 15. Everyone else stopped at about 5. "Well done," replies the mother again. "That's because you're blonde." The following day, the girl says to her mother, "Mom, today we measured our chests in class, and mine is the largest. Is that because I'm blonde?" "No, darling, that's because you're 18. A Frenchman, an Englishman, and an Australian go exploring in the jungle. After some time, they come across a beautiful lake and all decide to go swimming. Afterwards, as they leave the crystal-clear water, they are captured by a local tribe and are brought before the chief. The chief looks at them and says, "All 3 of you were caught swimming in our sacred waters. This is forbidden. As punishment, we will torture you all to death. Then we will take the skin from your torso and use the leather to make a canoe. However, I will allow each of you one request before you die." The Frenchman thinks for a minute, then speaks, "I request a knife." The chief nods his head, and a tribesman quickly gives the Frenchman a knife. The Frenchman looks the chief in the eye and says, "I will not let you torture me. Vive la France!" He then proceeds to stab himself through the eye and dies instantly. The chief snaps his fingers and the Frenchman's body is dragged away to be skinned. He then turns to the Englishman. The Englishman thinks, then says, "I too would like a knife." Like before, the chief honors his wish and he is given a knife. "I will not let you torture me either. Rule Britannia and God save the Queen!" He then proceeds to stab himself through the temple and dies instantly. The chief snaps his fingers and the Englishman's body is dragged away to be skinned. Finally, he turns to the Australian. The Australian immediately asks for a fork, so the chief gets him a fork. The Australian takes the fork in hand and begins to stab himself repeatedly all over his chest, screaming, "Try making your fucking canoe now!" Four married guys start talking about their wives while fishing. Four married men decided to go fishing together one day. While they were fishing, they talked about the things they had given up to be there. First, one of the men said, "You don't know what I had to do to come fishing with you today. On Saturday, I promised my wife I would paint the entire house." The other men nodded to show they understood how difficult it was to make plans with their wives. But the second man's story was even more impressive. He exclaimed, "That's nothing. I promised my wife I'd build her a new deck for the pool." Taking her fishing was the only way to fulfill her dream after she had wanted it for years. The third man, listening carefully, shared his own story. He said, "You both had it easy. I promised my wife I'd redo the entire kitchen for her. It will be a lot of work, but I just had to join you guys on this fishing trip." While they continued fishing, they glanced at the fourth man, who had been quiet. Eventually, they gave in and asked him, "You haven't said anything about what you had to do to come fishing this weekend. What's going on?" When he shared his secret, the fourth man grinned mischievously. "Well," he started, "I just set my alarm for 5:30. When it rang, I turned it off, gave my wife a light push, and asked, 'Fishing or something else?' Guess what she said? Put on a sweater." The other men laughed at how clever he was for finding a way to go fishing. Sometimes things don't go as expected when you make a straightforward choice. Two snakes were talking. The first one said, "Sydney, are we the type of snakes who wrap ourselves around our prey and squeeze and crush until they're dead? Or are we the type of snake who ambushes our prey and bites them, and they are poisoned?" Then the second snake says, "Why do you ask?" The first one replies, "I just bit my lip." Patty, the bank teller, was having a bad day with nasty and rude customers. A nicely dressed young man came up to her window and, with a smile, showed her a note. "Please give me all your money. I thank you for your time and help." After emptying her drawer into a bag, she added a chocolate bar left from her lunch. "What's that for?" he asked. "That's because you were the most polite person I've had all day," she answered. Once upon a time, there was a happy family with 3 kids, Snowflake, Sandgrain, and Brick. One day, Snowflake went up to his mother and asked, "Mommy, why is my name Snowflake?" "Well, you see, when you were born, a little snowflake landed on your head, so we decided to name you after it," she replied. A couple days later, Sandgrain went up to his mother and asked, "Mom, why is my name Sandgrain?" "Well, you see, when you were born, a little sand grain landed on your head, so we decided to name you after it," she replied. And then came Brick. "Hee hee boba baba mama." The elderly minister was searching his closet for his collar before church one Sunday morning. In the back of the closet, he found a small box containing 3 eggs and $101 bills. He called his wife into the closet to ask her about the box and its contents. Embarrassed, she admitted having hidden the box there for their entire 25 years of marriage. Disappointed and hurt, the minister asked her, "Why?" The wife replied that she hadn't wanted to hurt his feelings. He asked her how the box could have hurt his feelings. She said that every time during their marriage that he had delivered a poor sermon, she had placed an egg in the box. The minister felt that 3 poor sermons in 25 years was certainly nothing to feel bad about, so he asked her what the $100 was for. She replied, "Each time I got a dozen eggs, I sold them to the neighbors for $1. One day, Mrs. Jones went to have a talk with the minister at the local church. "Reverend," she said, "I have a problem. My husband keeps falling asleep during your sermons. It's very embarrassing. What should I do?" "I have an idea," said the minister. "Take this hat pin with you. I will be able to tell when Mr. Jones is sleeping, and I will motion to you at specific times. When I motion, you give him a good poke in the leg." In church the following Sunday, Mr. Jones dozed off. Noticing this, the preacher put his plan to work. "And who made the ultimate sacrifice for you?" he said, nodding to Mrs. Jones. "Jesus!" Jones cried as his wife jabbed him in the leg with the hat pin. "Yes, you are right, Mr. Jones," said the minister. Soon Mr. Jones nodded off again. Again the minister noticed. "Who is your Redeemer?" he asked the congregation, motioning towards Mrs. Jones. "God!" Mr. Jones cried out as he was stuck again with the hat pin. "Right again," said the minister, smiling. Before long, Mr. Jones again winked off. However, this time the minister did not notice. As he picked up the tempo of his sermon, he made a few motions that Mrs. Jones mistook as signals to bayonet her husband with the hat pin again. The minister asked, "And what did Eve say to Adam after she bore him his 99th son?" Mrs. Jones poked her husband, who yelled, "You stick that goddamn thing in me one more time and I'll break it in half and shove it up your ass." "Amen," replied the congregation. A man calls his wife and says, "Honey, I've been invited to go fishing out of town with my boss for a week. This could be a great opportunity for a promotion. Can you please pack enough clothes for the week and get my rod and tackle box ready, and don't forget to pack my new blue silk pajamas?" The wife sensed something was off, but being a good wife, she followed his instructions and packed everything he asked for. After a week, the husband returned home, looking a bit tired but pleased with himself. The wife immediately bombarded him with questions about the trip, how it was, if he caught any fish, and so on. "Yes, I caught plenty. Lots of salmon, bluegill, and even a few swordfish," he replied. Then, with a puzzled look, he added, "But why didn't you pack my blue silk pajamas?" X. The wife smirked and said, "Oh, I did. They were in your fishing box."